Hello everyone, my name is Prima, and oh boy, Legends Arceus. Everyone's talking about it, am I right? It's everywhere. Though, I really can't blame people for wanting to talk about it, because it's a really fresh and unique concept that a lot of people, including myself, have been wanting to see for a while from Pokemon. And I'm very curious what this will actually mean for the future of Pokemon. For instance, are we going to see other Legends games as well? The main title is Pokemon Legends, very well hinting at other projects, like if there's going to be a Gen 5 remake, are we going to see it in the style of this? Like, can you imagine, like, seeing Unova back in the day, you know, with Kyurem and the original dragon? That just sounds really cool, and I'd love to see it. Plus, Gen 5 is just really cool. A lot of people hype it up nowadays, but I remember you all when you hated the ice cream Pokemon. I don't even know why it's cute, but I remember it. But I digress. There's lots of opportunities with the Pokemon Legends brand. And who's to say that we'll only be sticking to the past? What about the future? Or what about alternate timelines and universes? Ultra space is a thing after all, so what if we go to a universe where, you know, like one of the bad guys from Rainbow Rocket, you know, they won, so we go there and we see what kind of damage they've done, and it'd just be super cool. I'd love to see that. And something that came to my mind was the idea of a Legends Mew game. After all, Arceus is considered a mythical Pokemon, and so is Mew, so, you know, it'd be cool and it makes sense, and I would love to see it because Mew is like my second favorite Pokemon, and plus they both got that, like, ancestor thing going on. So it'd be interesting to see what they could do with a Legends Mew game. Plus, I mean, that thing has a lot of lore surrounding it, like, you know, the ancestor of all Pokemon, and just a lot of stuff that's really never explored in mainline games. It's always like, oh, hey, there's this mythical Pokemon like Mew, and you catch it, and you learn some lore, you know, with the Dex entries, but that's pretty much it. So, how would a Pokemon Legends Mew work, and how would it go? Let's get into it. Well, it would take place in Kanto, firstly, and I think that the perfect time for this story to take place in is actually during Oak's childhood, because that would just be really cool, because we all know Oak, we all love Oak. You know, you got characters like Agatha, Blaine, Mr. Fuji. There's just a lot of, like, stuff you can do with Kanto, and I know that some people are, like, tired of Kanto remakes, but honestly, I wouldn't mind this whatsoever. It's more like a prequel, if anything. That would be cool. And we could also have a glimpse at just the region in general back then. Like, let's say the game was like, I don't know, 40 years ago, because Oak is like, what, 50? So 40 years ago would be around the time, you know, when he was 10. And we could also just look at all that older technology that was probably present at the time, because 40 years ago is not that long ago, and plus, there was technology in our world, you know, 40 years ago. And the Pokemon world is very technologically advanced, so it is just really cool to see what kind of, like, primitive technology they would have back then. Of course, Mew would be heavily tied into the story. After all, it would be called Legends Mew. So how would that go? We don't know yet how much Arceus is actually going to be tied into the story of Legends Arceus, but we can at least assume that it'll be hinted throughout your progression in the game. Then, you know, at around the finale, when you normally get your 7th badge, you start facing it, some evil team might want to grasp his power, yada yada yada, typical Pokemon stuff. Or maybe not, since we don't know if there are going to be any gym leaders at all. It could be similar to something like Colosseum or XD Gale of Darkness, where the main plot of the game is stopping the bad guys, which I actually would quite like to see. Now, as a Pokemon, Mew's got a lot of traits that definitely make it desirable to have, like its ability to learn all moves, and that it knows Transform. Can you imagine what bad people could do with all of this? They could use Mew as a weapon of mass destruction. Plus, Mew could have been numerous in the past. If it's truly the ancestor of all, it would have needed to be more common back in the day before Pokemon diversified into what they are now. Sure, there's probably not that many Mew around nowadays, maybe even one, but I'm pretty sure that maybe 50 or so years ago, there would have been at least, let's say, 50 Mews or something like that. So you can definitely imagine an evil team trying to get their hands on a bunch of these Mew. That many transforming little kitties could definitely make some trouble. This Pokemon was assumed to be extinct not too long ago, but but maybe that's exactly the reason that it could have been everywhere in the past. And don't forget that Mew can turn itself invisible on purpose, so it would only show itself to kind-hearted individuals. So maybe that's why people thought it was, extinct. Which brings me back to Oak. This guy is tied to Mew in actually a lot of different ways. In Pokemon Snap, he's able to draw connections between the Pokemon constellations and signs, and use that information to determine that Mew is on the Rainbow Cloud, which I assume is the final destination. I've never played the game. In the episode Alola Kanto, the 42nd episode of the Alola anime, Mew is seen flying around Oak's laboratory. And in the first episode of Pokemon Journeys, the ongoing anime, Chloe sees it at Oak's summer camp. And last but not least, the dude has Mew as a sync partner in Pokemon Masters, for crying out loud. Now, I don't consider any of those things canon, as I only really consider the mainline series canon, but there's evidence outside of the mainline game, so they could, take that information and, canonize it. They could put it in the game, use it as inspiration, whatever. They should canonize that stuff. It's just cool. Let's say that Oak finds Mew somewhere because of his pure heart. And then he starts his journey because he's inspired by Mew to become a Pokemon trainer. Just like you, by the way, I'm imagining that Oak will be like a rival to you, because that would just be super cool. So both you and Oak would be inspired by Mew because of your pure-heartedness to become a Pokemon trainer and to search for Mew. Yeah, Pokemon documenting and pre-Pokedex stuff, that would still be a thing, but it would be more like a secondary goal. Maybe it could become more of a primary goal for Oak, because, after all, he does make the Pokedex in the future, so there's bound to be some interest. And of course, they could give Mew some sweet new lore. For example, if you see this Pokemon, that means you're destined to become a great Pokemon trainer. You're the chosen one and all that stuff. It's typical, but it could work. But you wouldn't be the only ones chasing Mew, after all. There would be people out there who know the powers of this cute little pink cat, but who would those people be? What would the evil team be called, and what would their origins be? Well, I could make them related to Team Rocket somehow, but I don't really think that's too necessary. Sure, you could just say oh, the leader of the evil team is Giovanni's grandfather or something, but I really don't think those connections necessarily need to be made. So these bad guys, how exactly would they see Mew if they don't have a pure heart? Well, the first option is that they could use some sort of device, some type of Silphco stuff that they can see Mew when it turns invisible. Or they could use someone who actually does have a pure heart and use that person to catch Mew. I actually like the second option more, but the first option is more realistic. Let's call this hypothetical team, how about Team Clone or Team Catch? I know it's very generic and not very inspiring, but hey, I just thought of it out of nowhere, and that's the best I got. Their motivations would be pretty simple. To catch Mew to sell to scientists. It's a pretty simple goal, just money. Team Rocket did it as well, so it would fit in Kanto. And plus, it doesn't really need to be any deeper than that. But if you want to go somewhat deep, maybe near the end of the game, the people might just realize that what they're doing is wrong, even though they do need the money. And then, the real villains are the scientists, who want to use Mew as, weapons of mass destruction, to sell to the military. I guess the military would then be the bad guys, but, you'd be stopping the scientists from selling more Mew, but unfortunately, some Mew would be sold to the military, and then the military could use those Mew as, big weapons of mass destruction, animal weapons or something, and that could spark the war that Lieutenant Surge was in, that could, be the catalyst for the war that happened in Unova, America, whatever. I don't know, I'm probably going into super deep fanfic territory here, but I really like that idea. They should really do that. They should explain what was going on with that war. But what about Pokeballs? What could they look like? Well, probably maybe something like that prototype we saw from the Celebi movie. That Oak had. Again, they could just easily canonize that as well. Just canonize more stuff, Game Freak. You did it with Ash Greninja, so do it with the weird Pokeballs too. Which brings me to gym leaders, which might be getting their head start in Kanto right then. We're talking about the first gym leaders. How Alola had their first championship. Kanto might have even popularized the gym leader concept throughout the entire Pokemon world. Now, Blaine is the only gym leader I can imagine being alive at this point. The guy's old, so it'd be really cool to see him. Maybe he was even part of this evil team. But because he encountered Moltres, he perhaps saw the beauty of Pokemon, and didn't think to use them anymore, but instead appreciate them. After all, Moltres did inspire him to become a Fire-type specialist, and later a gym leader. And before becoming one, he did a lot of research together with Mr. Fuji, which is canon. Maybe he's also your rival. Yeah, he used to live on Cinnabar, but like I said, the guy's ancient. He could have started in whatever town you and Oak did as well. Fuji once appeared to have lived at the Pokemon Mansion, doing research on Mew and possibly even being the author of those old journals. That could definitely mean that he was indeed part of the evil team I mentioned earlier, trying to clone Mew or even create a prototype of Mewtwo back then. And then unfortunately later his work was used for evil, even after he quit. Luckily, it was potentially hinted that Fuji actually helped Mew escape to the faraway islands in Pokemon Emerald, where a sign says that only a kind-hearted person may enter again. This is even backed up more in the original Japanese version, where you can kind of see the signature of G, as in Fuji. And what if it's possible that this island was originally thought to have been the Guyanese jungle Mew was spotted in the journals that Fuji wrote? Either this island is really close to the Pokemon version of Goanna, or Fuji really needs to relearn his geographical skills. Well, okay, maybe he wouldn't be a rival, but he could be convinced by you and Oak to stop doing what he's doing. And Blaine, I guess, just needed a fire turkey to help convince him to stop doing stuff. How about that? And no, Dr. Fuji from the first movie doesn't count. This guy is just seemingly based on Mr. Fuji, but evil. So no, I don't really want that to become canon. I just realized that I almost forgot Agatha, but yeah, she definitely needs to be in the story. Like, she's confirmed to have a history with Oak, potentially even dating in the past, so it'd be cool to see that build up. So like, maybe around the end of the game, they could be dating, who knows, or maybe that's when they meet up for the first time. But yeah, those are my ideas on how I think a possible Legends Mew could work, might be like. I just mainly threw around a lot of ideas, so I'm not sure how cohesive it all sounds. I was just really hyped about this, so I just decided to type it all up, and I don't know, just let me know what you thought in the comment section below. If I missed something about Kanto or about Mew or something I could have implemented better, just let me know. And also let me know if you would like to see like maybe a Pokemon Legends Celebi video or Jirachi or Manaphy or, those Pokemon, because that would be fun to do as well. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. I got lots of cool stuff on the channel, and always more coming soon. A massive thank you to my assistant professor and lecturer patrons, Ty Burns, Gloomba331, Michael Piccirilli, DeltaMajora, and Gwen Joy. Y'all are the best. Truly. And with that being said, I hope y'all have a good day, night, or morning, and as always, take care.